Oh, welcome back. I just noticed something lazy from Creative Assembly. This is Altdorf. I thought about playing a couple games against the AI, not in the campaign. This is the Altdorf map, right? And that is the Castle Drakenhof map. And that's the same map. With very minor differences. That's just lazy as heck. Let's see if we have any other similarities. That's Dragonfang Mountain. Oh, that looks good, for sure. What about the Dragon Gate Cathai? Even though I still want multiple layered siege maps. It's just an absolute pity that we do not have multiple layered siege maps. I mean, just imagine, we could, in a real city battle, in a real siege map, we would at least have another level here, and third level here, and then the fourth level here. That would be super cool, but we don't have that. Okay. How about Erengrad? Let's see how that one looks. Oh, finally, I hope that's the only way. Oh no, it's not the only way up. There are bridges here. Let's see how help it looks like. That looks very similar to the original map. Or was it GGCCM map? Yeah, it's just not big enough, you know. I was expecting, okay, but then there should be a narrow pathway, and here there should be a portion of the city inside the mountain. And here is a victory point or something. And the only way to reach that would be to conquer this city and then push through this narrow gap. Yes, it sucks as an attacker, but that's what fortress cities are supposed to be. I'm not a big fan of, let's give the attackers 20 entrance points so they can quickly swarm the enemy. That's not how this should work. It's just lazy. It's just the maps are too small. What about Kislev? Let's see, Kislev. Yeah, the generic. Oh, come on, that's Kislev? Kislev is one of the main factions in the new game, and that's what you came up with? Are you serious? How long did that took one of your design guys? 10 minutes? 5? 2? Oh, come on. What about Midheim and Empire? That's better, but it's still not good. I mean, at least... Oh, it's the same map. It's the same map with very minor differences. You serious, Creative Assembly? It's just the outlines of the streets and the building. What? It's the same map. You serious, Creative Assembly? Kislev and Midheim, the same city layout. Oh, come on, that's lazy. Yeah. I just changed the topography and the overview so it wouldn't be as immediately striking as it in truth is. Well, that's very lazy. What about Nangao? Well, that map looks... But you know, that's a decent siege map. That is a map I would like. Not endless space for walls, but we should have a second wall there, and the archers on the second wall should be able to shoot at the first wall, and then we should have a third wall, and then we should have a fourth wall, and then we should have the center of the city here. Yeah, multiple layered siege maps. Everyone wants it, but Creative Assembly is unable to program the AI properly. That is that's the style of siege map I want. Nun. That's definitely a style of siege map that I like. You know, you have 3, you have forward fortifications, and then we should have another siege wall there with gates. And then you need to fight your way over through narrow passages. You know, that's more like a siege map that I would like to see. It still lacks multiple layered siege walls and all of that, but that's a bit better. That's the first nearly good one. And we're already nearing the end. Prague, Kislev. Let's see. That is a recycled map. Isn't that the GCCM map? But they didn't have this portion. Yeah, that's just a recycled map from before. Red Fortress Chaos. How does that one look? Well, that is just the generic lame design from Creative Assembly. And I still hate these maps. They just don't make sense. It's just awful to defend these. You don't want to defend the walls. Simply because if you manage to defend this and they break through here, it's gone. So the best tactic is like Legend of Total War likes to do it. You just place your troops here, archers in behind, swordsmen in front, and use the magics, and that's it. This is just not encouraging. This is a bad siege experience, Creative Assembly. You can do much better. Up your game, please. What about Zhangyang? If I mispronounce these names. Oh! Why do only the Asian faction get good-looking siege maps? I mean, it's still, of course, like the second siege wall and the third one. But this is much better design. So if I read this correctly, the only way up, here is the main portion where you want to be at the end. And these are the only two ways up. Well, that's a nice siege. That's a nice siege design. I like it. What about the Temple of Skulls, Lizardman? That also looks like it was stolen from GCCM. Even though it was changed a bit, it's acceptable, you know. The only one of the few races where you wouldn't expect multiple layered siege walls are the Lizardmen, because they have big dinosaurs. They don't need several layers of walls. They just need dinosaurs and empty space, and then nom dead. What about the Shifting Monolith? Let's see how that one turns out. Yeah, not a big fan of that. I hate this design. You see, even if you do everything right, the enemies can just instantly swarm you. And this entrance here shouldn't be. And this is the same, they can instantly swarm you. This should be closed. This should be closed. This should be closed. Maybe this can be open. But this should be closed as well. The enemies should go this way if they wanted to get up. This is just... Why would you build a siege defense map like that, where you leave 20,000 empty places to swarm you? It's just... No, creative. There's so many modifications for Total War with awesome siege maps. Just look at the Third Age Total War. This is not the way. Whoever designed these is a moron. The Writhing Fortress. Let's see. Well, that one. It looks good. This design could be justified. Moron is maybe a bit hard. Not everyone is a moron that makes a mistake, but let's rephrase the sentence. The person responsible, or the people responsible for this, shouldn't be responsible for this. What they can come up with the power of their mind, is insufficient and can only be considered a joke. So, I do not want to personally insult these people, but no, but yeah, full stop. Their abilities are simply not enough to deliver a decent experience. So these people should not be responsible for these siege maps. Okay, what about the Writhing Fortress? We had that one. Yeah, that was the one that looked half decent. Yeah. Still, I'm not the biggest fan, but I guess it's acceptable. What about Wai? I guess the Asian map will look cool again, but... Oh, that's a recycled one from before. Wasn't that Zhangyang? Even though we could accept it, maybe these were twin cities? Maybe these are twin cities, so that could be accepted. What about Zuvba? Yeah, not the biggest fan. And again, not big enough. We should have this. We should have small entrances and then endless streets where dwarves could hunker down and shoot you from ramparts above. I mean, just think about... I know that games are incapable of delivering that because people lack the fantasy, the imagination, but just read a couple books about dwarves. There is a beautiful book series called The Dwarfs. It's the name from a German author. In the original it's called Die Zwerge, The Dwarfs. And he had many siege battles explained, and in beautiful words, he described how the maps, how the fortresses, were, or how he imagined it. Multiple ramparts, small narrow passages, always shooting from above. And what Warhammer 3 is surely lacking are siege equipments to place. You know, in Three Kingdoms we had at least trebuchet or catapults on walls, but in Warhammer we should have much more. We should have stationary cannon emplacements everywhere. We should have trebuchet. We should have other siege equipment. I mean, let's look at the Warhammer map, and we should have the ability to destroy streets. We should have the ability where, for example, in a narrow passage there are, I don't know, several houses, and we should have the ability to buy the ability to destroy the houses, to destroy a passageway. We should have the ability to permanently change the outcome, or well, semi-permanently change the outcome of a battle by changing, well, the layout of the streets. For example, we could then cut this off, and okay, that's a bit big, but we could cut this off, and we could cut this off, and that's not possible. Of course, yes, they give us these small barricades, but they're not permanent. And once the barricade is destroyed, and it's destroyed in 5 seconds, that's also what bothers me a bit about the system. They're just worthless. You can't keep anyone from coming over. I mean, you've seen it when the ogres came to our barricades and destroyed them in, I don't know, 2 seconds. And barricades should be much bigger. The scale is just not big enough. All of this would have been acceptable for Warhammer 2. But this is Warhammer 3. This is the final, this is the culmination. This should be most extraordinary. This should be awe-striking. This should have... well, but it doesn't have. I was about to say this should have HDR, proper multi-core optimization, better engine in general, and then we would go into gameplay, but it doesn't have that. Creative Assembly is incapable of delivering that. I'm not sure why. If they lack the manpower, they certainly don't lack the budget. Sega is supplying them with a lot of money. Since Total War is a big franchise, or has become a big franchise. I mean, I've been a Total War fan from the beginning, really. I played... The first Rome was a game where I came to this franchise. So Rome 1. Even though I only played that for maybe 100 hours. Only. The first Total War that got me was, was Medieval 2. I played Medieval 2 for, I don't know, maybe 1,000 hours, maybe more, maybe 2,000, I'm not sure. I mean, there was so much to do, not only the main campaign with half the world map, but then came the DLCs, where we were able to dive into the Middle East and the Crusades and South America and all the other places. And then came the modification. Oh, the modifications. I've easily spent 500 hours or more into Third Age Total War. Maybe the grandest modification of all time. Even though Nerim and Enderal are also for Skyrim and for Oblivion. Also glorious. most often or not, the greatest games are community made. It is just something I do not understand. It's very easy what people want. You just have to ask them. And then they create something awesome, but companies are not interested in what people want. It's just, I don't understand that. Just look at the current state of the industry. I mean, Warhammer 3 is acceptable. It's nearly good. I mean, the performance is a joke. There are thousands of people on Reddit and forums and Twitter and Discord servers, whatever. And they have massive performance issues. I mean, Warhammer 3 looks like Warhammer 2, but runs with half or even less the FPS. So that's an absolute joke. But even from the performance issues aside, the game doesn't deliver the grandeur that was promised. I mean, they worked on this for 6 years. And what we got in total is a new map, a couple new factions, a couple minor reworks or reskins from already existing functions, features, and a couple minor new features, but nothing major changed. We don't have naval battles, and I'm not going to dive into all of that again. So Warhammer 3 has potential, a lot of potential. I can only hope that Creative Assembly will supply this with great big DLC packs for years. Creative Assembly won't give you new content for free. They want to earn lots of money, so they will demand lots of money. It's a bit like Stellaris, or what was the city building game called? Oh, shame on me. I played that a lot, even though I haven't let's played it. City building games best. What was the name of the best city? City Skylines, of course. Sorry, City Skylines. I had to Google that one, even though I played it for at least 100 or 150 hours. City Skyline is a good example. It's a good game. And it's a DLC riddled game. I'm not even sure how many DLCs there are for City Skyline. It's the same for Total War. Creative Assembly comes and tells you, we have 2 new champions. 15 euros, please. Even though the base game at that point costs, what, 20, 25? The pricing, the entire gaming industry is mad. The pricing is ridiculous. You know, it's the same with Halo Infinite. A lot of people dislike Halo Infinite because of the ridiculous prices in the store, where the base game costs, I don't know, $45 or euros, and they want, what, $15 for one helmet skin? Put into perspective, this item shouldn't cost more than $1, maybe $2, maybe €2, maybe. But even that would be ridiculous. It couldn't, in truth, it shouldn't cost more than 20, 30, 40 cents. But the pricing is, the problem are people that are used to pay lots of money for nothing. People that have been indoctrinated by years of FIFA and other ridiculous games where you're supposed to throw out thousands and thousands of dollars for shit. And because many people lack brain, or let's just say, no, they don't lack brain, they couldn't exist without a brain. Let's just say they lack the ability for a coherent thought process. They are incapable, whether they are unable to comprehend that that they get ripped off. Nowadays, companies are used to rip you off with minimal effort for maximum profit. And even though I love Total War, I've been a Total War fan since I can remember, almost. the DLC politic of Creative Assembly is a joke. What you get is overpriced. It doesn't mean the content isn't great. The content often is fun. I mean, they've proven with Warhammer 2 that some of the new factions bring awesome mechanics. But the problem are the prices. If a base game costs €25, and it has 20 factions, and you add one faction, you can't demand 10 or 15 euros. You should demand maybe 4, 5 euros max. But that's the state of the industry. Companies are going to demand the highest prices in the hopes, or sometimes even the knowledge, that the fans will be willing to pay for them. Me, for example, I buy most stuff when it's in the deal. I bought most, if not all, Total War DLCs when, I don't know, the winter sales of Steam were or something like that. So instead of paying 10, 11, 12 euros, I paid 3, maybe 4, maybe 5. And I cannot recommend a game that starts its lifetime with a DLC attached at this moment. So I have hard times recommending Warhammer 3. Personally, it's fun to me, but there are many bugs and the performance is shit. I mean, we're playing on a 5950X. That's high end. That's the best planet Earth right now can offer you in terms of processor performance. We have 64 gigs of RAM. Not slow one. We have 3090. It's the best planet Earth right now can offer you. And we barely get 30 FPS. And we are not running at max settings. Right now, my shadow details are high. Yeah, 3090, yeah? High. We're not ultra, we're not extreme, no, high. And we're still only getting 30 FPS. That is ridiculous. This game does not look like a game that should produce 30 FPS on this PC. But it does. Because it's not well optimized. And that is, quite frankly, a pity. And it bothers the heck out of me. Well, the question, of course, is how do we change that? And it's not an easy one. The problem is, in the end, the game developers are the ones making the decisions. Not even their managers, it's the publishers. And if we all stop buying Total War DLCs, Sega will come and say, oh, Total War, apparently nobody likes that. Okay, Creative Assembly, you will make no more Total Wars. That's a waste of money. Because the managers and the publishers are incompatible with logic. They will not be able to make the right, well, decisions. They will not be able to understand why that happened. They will not be able to comprehend to the reasons as to why people stopped supporting a specific product. And if everyone stops buying Total War DLCs, the publisher will just be like, oh, so there is no more interest in Total War DLCs. Well, then there will be no more Total War DLCs, and effectively the franchise will be dead. That's the main issue. So buying it full price is wrong. Not buying it is also wrong. And buying it when it's a deal is maybe the best choice. At least that would show the publisher that people are unwilling to buy the product for the given price. And maybe then they will understand that it's just too expensive. And I made my decision. I can recommend Warhammer 3. But with a couple asterisks. Asterisks. Meaning the game in its current state is not great. And you need a ridiculously powerful machine to run it properly. Especially in 4K to be honest. If you do not have a 3080 or an AMD 6900, don't bother. I mean, seriously, I can only show you this again. This leads to 30 FPS. I mean, that's just, you know, let's run the official benchmark, battle benchmark, the campaign, always campaign. Well, let's see how much FPS we get. I'm very curious to see. I mean, if there is a difference in real life FPS and a synthetic benchmark that supposedly is made in optimized way to showcase our game runs great, play our game. I remember the Rome 2 benchmark, the scene in the forest where the Romans were ambushed. That was a glorious scene, a glorious benchmark. Let's see if they have a proper scene. Yep, 30 FPS. I can only repeat myself, that's ridiculous. This is not right. Okay, we can end this already. And then oh, come on, Creative Assembly. I am running Windows 11 beta builds. This is not correct. That's the problem when you have an ancient engine and let it run at DirectX 11. That's ridiculous. Well, that's a joke. That's not right. I want to love this Warhammer 3, but I'm not sure if I can. I mean, eventually they'll fix most of it. Even though I still can't believe that they haven't upped the engine, that we don't have DirectX 12. Even though we have a DirectX 12 beta in Warhammer 2, it's just... Oh, come on, Creative Assembly, stop being lazy. Advanced. Let's see, I want to see what the battle benchmark looks like. So on average, I mean, yes, I broke off the benchmark before it finished. That was like 34 FPS. That's not right. That is not enough. That's not a full stack army, by the way. If you look at the amount of troops, that's barely half a full stack. Once it goes into battle, it's only 30 FPS. And we have to keep in mind, 30 FPS, especially on OLED with VRR that I'm playing, it's playable. But compared to what we got in Warhammer 2, and that was nearly double, in Warhammer 2 we had 50-60 FPS, something even 70. That was much better. In terms of looks, this is not a giant upgrade. And yeah, I can only repeat myself, that is ridiculous. Why doesn't the game notice that we're using Windows 11? Hey? I mean, apparently the engine is too ancient. It doesn't know that Windows 11 exists. So it just tells you something. I mean, Windows Pro is correct. I have the Windows 11 Pro version. Yeah. Okay. So, and by the way, we already had unlimited VRAM usage. Okay. So, I like Warhammer 3. I like it, so I can recommend it, but with asterisks. I hope that Creative Assembly can turn this around, even though I highly doubt that they would upgrade the engine mid life cycle of a game. They never did that. They only improved upon that when they brought out a new game. And big features like proper aerial battles, naval battles, all of that, proper siege layered, multiple layered siege maps, all of that is... I'm not sure if they can deliver that. I hope, but I highly doubt it. So that's it. Stay tuned, stay safe, especially stay safe. What happened today will hopefully wake up the world before we tumble into another war. Well, this is gameplay. I will probably make a second channel where I talk about the world and what happens. Maybe I can guide a couple ones to a path where the prosperity of all is a target instead of just your own gains. Well, goodbye.